Hello dear students of class 10th, welcome to economics class. I hope all of you are fit and healthy. Students, in this video, I shall be continuing with the fourth chapter from your economics book, that is Globalization and the Indian Economy. Students, in the last video, I explained you the second factor that enables or that ensures globalization, that is liberalization, and before that I explained you about technology. So students, in liberalization I told you that liberalization is very important when it comes to globalization. Globalization without liberalization is not possible. What is liberalization? Liberalization means removing the trade barriers, removing the restrictions that are put by a government on foreign trade. So that is called as liberalization. That means to be more liberal. That is called liberalization. Then I explained you about WTO, that is World Trade Organization. I told you that WTO, World Trade Organization, is an international organization that aims to liberalize foreign trade. So the main work, the main focus of WTO is to liberalize foreign trade, so that more foreign trade can take place, more foreign countries can invest in the developing countries. Actually, the developed countries can invest in the developing countries. So this is the main aim of WTO. And the work of WTO is to make rules and regulations regarding foreign trade, so that smooth action, smooth conduction of work can be there between countries. So I hope till there points are clear to everybody. Now students, we will be moving to the next topic that is related to WTO only, and the topic is WTO, a debate on trade practices. Students, I hope you remember the previous video in which I told you that there is a debate on WTO, that it is more inclined towards, or it is more favoring the developed countries in comparison to the developing countries. It is more inclined towards the developed countries. It is always in favor of the developed countries when compared to a developing country. What is the reason why this is so? See, I already told you that WTO, which is an international body, so this is basically controlled by, these international bodies are basically controlled by the developed countries. And who are the decision makers in the developed countries? The big businessmen. They are the basically influencers in the developed country. So obviously WTO will be under, or it will favor the developed countries. So there is a debate on this. So here we will be studying about the debate, that is WTO, a debate on trade practices. See, WTO is made so that trade can be in a smooth manner, no country faces loss. That is why WTO is there. But if it is so, then why it is only favoring the developed countries and why not the developing countries? If WTO will be partial, then what will happen? What will be the condition of the developing countries? They will face crisis, there will be inequality everywhere. So unequal distribution will be there. So because of those reasons, we are going to study about this debate. So basically students, here we are going to take two countries. One is the developing country and second is developed country. So in developing country, we will take our own country, that is India. And in developed country, I am saying again. So students, in developing country, will be taking the example of India, our own country, and in case of developed country, we will take example of US, okay, which is a developed country. So students, as you all know that India is an agrarian country. Agrarian means more than half of the population is engaged in agriculture activities or the primary sector. So that is why it is called as agrarian country. It is dependent on agriculture, that is why. So as you know that students, more than 59% population of the country is engaged in agriculture activities, and the contribution of agriculture to GDP is more than 18%, which is satisfactory, which is all right. So this was the condition of India. Now we will be comparing the agricultural GDP and employment with that of US. Okay, we will see the share of GDP and employment. So if we talk about US in context to agriculture, in context to primary sector, then let me tell you that the percentage of population that is employed in agriculture sector in US is less than 10%. Yeah. And if I talk about the contribution to GDP, then the contribution to GDP is like 5% or about 5%, which is much less than that of India. Alright. And because of these reasons, since very less percentage of population is employed or is engaged in agriculture sector, so that is why the government of US, it is providing large sum of money. Why? They are providing to the people who are engaged in agriculture in order to promote the agricultural activities. This means the government of US is actually providing subsidy to the people who are engaged in agriculture activities, so that they feel encouraged, so that they feel promoted, so that they feel that the government is really doing something, the government is really helping them. So that is why it is providing subsidy. Alright, subsidy for production activities, for exporting activities and several other purposes. And and you know what, if I talk about India, then in India the farmers or the people who are engaged in production activity, and if I talk about India, then the people who are engaged in the agricultural activity, they are not provided such kind of subsidy, and if they are provided, it is very less than that of US. Why this is so? See, first of all, India has a large population. The population is actually explosive, right? So it is not possible for the government to provide subsidy to all the farmers or everybody who is engaged in this activity. It is not possible. And if I talk about the economy of USA, it is much more developed than that of India, as a result of which the government of USA is very easily able to provide subsidy to the people who are engaged in agriculture sector. And due to this massive subsidy, the US farmer can very easily sell their farm products, and they can even export their products to different countries at a very low price as compared to the other countries, and especially let me talk about India. For example, let's suppose that the cost of producing 1 kg of wheat in both the countries, in India and in the US, is rupees 50. Alright, let's suppose, I am just giving you an example. So the total cost of production is 50 rupees in both the countries. So the farmers in India, they will sell at rupees 60 or rupees 70 maximum. Let's keep 60. But if I talk about the people of USA, the farmers of USA, as they are getting good amount of subsidy, suppose 50 is the cost of production, and on that the government is providing 30 rupees as subsidy. Now what will happen? The price will come down to 20. So maximum they will sell at 40, right? So being consumers, we will buy which product? The product which is of low price, definitely we will go to that, we will opt that. So because of this, because the government is very supportive in the developed countries, and as the government is providing subsidy and great help to the people, they are able to produce at much low cost as compared to the other developing countries, and as a result of which people will definitely opt for their grains, their products, and we will try to avoid the Indian market, the domestic producers, the domestic suppliers who are there in our country, the domestic players, as a result of which their market will completely be exploited, it will completely break, it will completely cut down, as a result of which they will expand, they will grow, and our economy will not grow. So what is the work of WTO here? So WTO has to maintain, it has to actually balance everything so that the people of both the countries can equally gain the advantages of globalization. Right, if globalization is there or if liberalization is there, if our country has removed the trade barriers and our country, the government of our country is allowing the other countries to come and invest in our country, then the WTO has to frame such rules and regulations so that our producers, our suppliers, they are not at a loss. So this is the debate, that it is always favoring the developed countries and not the developing countries. So in this case, the farmers of developing countries, they are facing problems, they are at loss. So this is the debate, that WTO is always favoring the developed countries and not the developing countries. So the question is this free and fair trade? We have liberalized, we have done everything so that foreign investment can come to our country, foreign trade can take place, but is the trade free and fair? See, our economies are liberalized. We have invited the foreign, we have invited foreign investors. They are investing in our country and they are gaining huge profits. But what about us? Are we at profit or not? Definitely our economies are liberalized, but when it comes to WTO, then WTO is not doing its maximum to regulate free and fair trade and to help the domestic producers. So I hope the debate of WTO for trade practices, for fair trade practices, is clear to everybody. Now students, we will be heading to the next topic, that is impact of globalization in India. So here we are going to see the positive impact also and the negative impact also. That means the advantages as well as disadvantages of globalization in India. So students, first we are going to see the advantages or the positive impacts of globalization. And we are basically going to see the impact, the positive impact, with two perspectives. First is the perspective of consumer and second is the perspective of producer, that what advantages globalization has offered to the consumers and the producers. Alright. So students, first we will talk about the consumers, that how consumers have got the benefit of globalization. See, when it comes to globalization and the customers or the consumers, let me tell you that globalization has provided several advantages to the consumers. Now, what are those advantages? See, it has offered greater choice, means to choose from. They have the choice, they have got an opportunity to choose from variety of products that are there in the market. Earlier, this was not so. Before globalization, this was not so. Opportunity to choose was not there because limited products were there, one or two brands were there. But with the advent, with the coming of globalization, people have got the opportunity to choose from the given alternatives, and because of this, competition has increased. If many players will be there, if many producers will be there in the market, definitely competition will increase. And if competition will increase, then what will happen? Then the producers, they will be under pressure. Pressure of what? Pressure to increase their quality and reduce their cost. Only if the quality is improved and the cost is reduced, then only they can be there in the market. Then only their products will be bought by the consumers. So this is the greatest advantage or the biggest advantage that is given to the consumers. And this has actually resulted in high standard of living which is seen in the society. Now, how high standard of living is seen? See, if the product quality will improve and the price will go down, then definitely the consumer can opt for that, the consumer can purchase that. So, if the consumer can purchase good quality of products at low price, what will be better than that? So, as a result of which, the living standard of people has gone up. Alright. So, this is the advantage that is given to the consumers. Now, let me talk about the disadvantage or the challenges that the consumer face. See, basically because of globalization, because of a number of variety, because of a number of products, consumers generally get confused what product to buy and what not to buy. This is the biggest issue the consumers are facing. And you know, it has also resulted in over expenses. This has resulted in more consumerism. Now, what is this? Suppose you went to buy a shampoo, okay, you went to buy a shampoo, but there you saw a number of shampoos for different purposes. One is anti-dandruff, one is for shiny hair, one is for soft hair. So, definitely you will get attracted and you will want to buy more. You went to buy one product, but instead you bought 2 or 3. So, this has resulted in over expenses. So, this is what is called as consumerism. The consumer are consuming more than what they actually need. They are buying more. So, as a result of which their expenses is also increasing. So, this is basically the disadvantage that is there for the consumers. Alright. Now, students will be talking with the point of view of or with the perspective of producers, that what are the advantages and the disadvantages that are offered to the producers. See, the MNCs, they are they are investing in our country. So, foreign investment is coming to our country, and if they are investing in our country, this is resulting in generation of employment. Means if they are giving order, if they are placing orders with the small producers, then who will fulfill that order? Who will complete that order? That order will be completed only with the help of workers, with the help of small producers, suppliers. So, this is actually generating and creating more employment opportunities. And you know, the local companies are supplying raw materials, they have also prospered. For example, I hope you remember that example which I told you, that a magazine for the US people that is manufactured in our I hope you remember the example that I gave you of the magazine that is produced in India, that is printed and designed in India, and which is for the US readers. See, when it comes to magazine, then the raw materials, they have to be supplied. So, the raw materials are supplied from the small producers. So, if they will supply their raw materials, they will also prosper, they will also grow. This is also one point. And the top Indian companies, they also get advantages of globalization. Now, how do they get the advantage of globalization? See, they get a chance to collaborate with big MNCs, which will help them to grow. For example, Mahindra and Ford. See, Ford collaborated with Mahindra and Mahindra. They were in partnership. So, as a result of which only Ford will not grow. Along with Ford, Mahindra and Mahindra will also grow. It will also expand. So, this is providing expansion opportunities to the big companies. This is providing chance to collaborate and hence grow and expand. As you all know that the foreign companies, they bring funds to invest in new technology. So, if funds will be provided, if new technology will be provided, definitely upgradation will be there. Upgradation of the small companies as well as the producers and suppliers, means whosoever are involved in that process, they will prosper. So, this is also one point. Also, students, globalization has enabled some large Indian companies to emerge as MNCs themselves. Only the foreign companies are not MNCs. This is also giving us opportunity. It is giving opportunity to the large companies to act as MNC, to grow as MNC. For example, Tata Motors, which is an automobile company, it is a very big company. Then Ranbaxy, which is a medicine company. Infosys, which is an IT company. Then Asian Paints, which is a paint company. So all these are very big companies and they are MNCs and they are investing in other countries. Definitely other countries are investing here, but the big companies, our big companies, they are getting chance, they are getting opportunity to act as MNCs themselves and they are investing in other companies, in the other countries. Alright. Also students, globalization has also created new opportunities to service providing companies to export their services to the developed countries. Several services, for example, the data entry services, accounting work, administrative work. So, all these services are exported to the developed countries. For example, if you remember the iPhone example, then I told you that the after services, that means the customer care and all, that is set up in our country. Why? Because we are good at that. We have proficient people, skilled people who can speak well. So we are actually offering, we are exporting our services for which we are paid. We are doing data entry work, we are doing several official work, the administrative work. So we are exporting our services, which is opening ways, which is opening directions for the service companies in India also. Alright. So I hope till here points are clear to everybody. So I have explained you the advantages that are given to the producers. Now I will be explaining you in the next, and students, in the next video I will be explaining you about the disadvantages or challenges faced by producers, small producers and workers. Till then, thank you so much. I hope the concepts of this video are clear to everybody. Thank you and stay connected.